screen, if you permit. Okay, is everyone seeing my screen?
Okay, okay. Perfect.
Good, thank you. So as you can see, today I am going to talk about the dynamics of Shometo systems with delay and environmental influence. As rightfully already mentioned, I am called Lambu Carmel from the University of Dschang. So here I place the Moclis lab, which is more of a personal lab prompted by my supervisor, which is as on the slides, as you can see on the second slide. So the one with the dog actually is my supervisor. It's Lord Patrick, and so we have on the left and the right you have Dr. Simo and Dr. Thierry, which are I can say most of like his first doctors, those he formed as doctors. And so here you have me, Lambo Kamel, then Dr. Connie Steph, which is also one of his doctors, which is also already somewhere in Australia, continuing his research there as assistant, and also Dr. Cherise in Italy, Lucca, and Dr. Simo is with me in Cameroon. And so we have one of our greatest collaborator, which is Professor Hilda Stedera. She's more of just like a mother to us. She has always been with us, close with us discussing. When we have ideas, we can always prompt her at any time. That's what really made me to be to be really happy. And so here in Cameroon, the context at times is not always the best because we faced, I think, 2.5 years of breakdown of the PhD program, because actually the PhD program was closed for basically 2 years and a half. And so it was not easy because we had many genius who would have loved to continue with the PhD program, but it was not really easy. And so actually I am also working, being in electronics, I am working with complex systems, electronics and all its complexity made me to choose this field. So actually today I'm going to talk about Swarmalators, and generally we'll have a brief introduction, then we'll take into the context, then present the novelty, what we bring in, and so we also present the perspectives, what are the outcomes, what can we do, or what next. So first and foremost, I should talk about what a swarm is. From the word swarmalator, we can split into swarm and oscillator. And so a swarm, most importantly, is a group of agents that are interacting. But what is important here is that there is no master, there is no person dictating what is happening. They are interacting with one another. And so at times we see patterns being formed. We can remember the flocks of birds, as we can see in sea, forming strange configurations. And nowadays with drones, we are capable of forming QR codes. If you can just imagine, today we can form QR codes with this. And so it's nice to study complex systems. And also what also intrigued us is the fact that in Cameroon we have the Adamawa region, which is one of the first, I can say, first producer of honey. And so we saw actually that honey is produced by 90% of it is produced in the Adamawa region, followed by the northwest and then the west. We should observe that recent studies show that the amount produced dropped from around 7,000 tons of in 2022 to around 4,000. And so we were like, why? Since we are into electronics and complex systems, we want to understand why. And so this actually prompted us to actually try to look at the model of Swarmalator, if we can approach the problem as to why is the decrease in honey in Cameroon and solve other complex situations. And so to this, we simply show that the swarms or swarmalators, as we will see, which is just adding the swarm system and complementing to it the oscillatory phase part. It's like a bee with a brain, if I can say it simply that way. And so they're capable of aggregation. They are also, capable of navigating, forming collective agents. And so they are important, in studying swarmalators. We can also study agents that moving, being shapes, being humans too, also. And so we can also apply these Swarmalator systems to decision makings. And since we have collective detection of errors also possible, that's interesting. That's what actually pushed us. And so this is an image for us to picture what a Swarmalator is. It's actually combining a swarm and an oscillatory part. As I said earlier, it's just like giving a brain to a bee or giving a brain to a termite. Basically, that's what a Swarmalator is, capable of aggregation and synchronizing in its space. So, sorry, are you getting me?
It's okay.
We hear you fine. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. I thought I went off. So, basically, I'll present to you the context. It's all started with Tanaka, working on chemotactic bacteria, and later on, Okefi in 2017, that's some later years on, decided to actually try to mingle these two, the ability to move in space and the ability to synchronize. That's where the Swarmalator was born in 2017 with Okefi. Lizarraga later on, they improved the, let me say, the model, or proposed a model to study actually, cells in organisms and how this can be modeled, or how to understand how these systems work, basically. And so we sorted out the various articles or contents we had on Swarmalators, and we discovered that a very few number of articles, research publications, talked about delay. That's what we have in option A, and even lesser portion discussed about the environmental factor. Taking into account in the environment where the element is very important, because if you just consider like bees, for example, if we don't take into account the fact the bees can be moving in an air, in a windy environment, or in a liquid through rain and so on, it's obvious that we will like misleading. We like miss out something important. And option C simply shows that there are many works already doing done, without taking into account the environment or the delay, bringing up various new models as it is shown in option D. And so, continuing to this, we discovered that in 2022, SAN all they proposed a new model, that considers more of an attraction and repulsion, which is actually one of the base. But here they started varying the time. And so, improving to this, our research collaborator, also Steve, also we implemented this and searched and saw that there was a possibility to have what we call transitions, first order transitions, and that was like a premiere in his time, and this was very nice. And so it actually prompted, because the research was actually growing, and in 2024, Bloom and its team formed with Okefi, actually they produced a system, including delay, where we could actually for the first time actually bring out this aspect of an environment. Delay, it's actually one aspect that can be thought of as being an environmental factor. And so, being brought up, we saw that this is interesting. And so, what is interesting to note is that generally in our studies, we have what we call transitions, and we have what we call A, like it's a critical transition, we call it first order, and the other one is in more of a second order, that it's more smooth transition. It's not like this one. So we can use, or we use this model to actually span. This is the model proposed by Okefi in 2024, and we proposed that we actually used this model, to make more findings. And the tools basically we used on this model 12, the tools we actually use as seen, there's an other parameter which we use, which permits us to make some analysis, because when it's less than one, I know basically you know the other parameter. Just insisting on the fact that we have its form also in the complex correlation. And so what is interesting also here is the velocity, because in some configurations, the elements form groups or agglomerations where they are static. That the elements don't move in space. And so it's important to mention the fact that the velocity is very important here. And so in this presentation, there will be some contents that will be videos and maybe not audios, but at least videos will be present. And so what the novelty we brought up, we see that without delay in this slide, we presented the various dynamics that exist with and without delay. And we see that in the be it the static sync, the static async, those are current states. The ones you see in circle red are the states, produced by OKFeed since 2017. And so we bring out new findings as the one in B1, B2. B2 actually is being modified, and after adding delay from moving from A1 to C1, adding delay, we have these various transitions from like a state of disorder, to some form of ring organization to later on like a full synchronization. And moving from A2 to C2, we see like these guys were arranged in form of blocks. We call these clusters. And this state is called a splintered phase wave. We see that these states actually, after adding delay a certain value, there is a transition which forms what we later on call the boiling state. And it is interesting because in our discovery, we discover what we called the boiling chimera state. And we know, looking at the figure you have here, which is figure 3, A and B represent the boiling state, and C and D represent the boiling chimera state. And the word chimera simply here stands for the fact that we can have at the same time organization, aggregation and phase synchronization. But this time around, there's some phase synchronization. At the center, you see the elements are like all that, and at the exterior from D also, they have various different colors, and this is interesting. And I will animate this first video, we are going to observe together how actually this is brought up. And you will see that for this, which is the boiling state, BS, with the parameters J1 and K1, we can see it observing or evolving. It will automatically evolve to where we have on B, to the figure 3B. It will evolve to that form. I think by now the steady state is reached, and so we can see it. So I'll play the second video. And so what is interesting here is that it starts directly, it's like it goes to this state. And also we observe that there is a trend, a change in color, from the center going outward. That's like the faces, because the colors indicate the face. And so the colors, like they are like synchronizing them in phase and continuously changing these faces. And so we pushed this forward, and we analyzed the other parameter for these various critical conditions, giving rise to the boiling chimera state. And later on, we brought up a sample of all the various new dynamics we brought up. And from figure 4, we can see on H, actually, its first and second part, that we also have what we call a static, it's more of a static pi, but it's let me say, call it a short term, because we actually have a separation. And after a long period of long duration, it recombines. And I didn't show it here, but it's available, and it's automatically available at any moment. And so we can continue spanning. We see that there is a relationship, between the coupling strength and delay, and it is more of a power law variation. And so it is interesting to show that in figure, what I mentioned, like called figure 6, we see that as you're varying R, in fact, you're varying K for different values of the other parameter, we have this form of U-shaped transition. And this was a primer also in these ideas of Swarmalators, to have a U-shaped transition. Generally, we have just a first order or just a second order, but here we critically have, I can say, 2 first order, one going down and one going up. So it was a primer, and at first we were like, why this? And so I think that the power law also somehow brings in some account into why we have this state this way. And so we later on decided to, to introduce, uh, because we like trying to make the model more realistic or closer to reality. And so we introduced a parameter called D, which we actually like try to mimic the environment and produce a fluidic environment. This is where actually we are at present, and we're actually working on this and trying to make this. We have some results already, though I didn't present them here, but we have some results which I'm sure maybe next time I'm going to present. And so, what is important to note as a future perspective here is that our research showed that these transitions show there is at some point, particularly the double U-shaped or the U-shaped transition, let me call it that way. So at some point there is a flip to this. There's a flip to this order and a flip back to order, and so this may explain. Maybe to some extent, we are still trying to make, bring it closer to why the bees, because that's also one of the our main ideas in mind. Why the bees? It's true that here we don't have real data because actually that's just simulations. But now our perspective is to use real data to like try using this model. Why not? And try to understand why we have this happening. And also, delay is important in communication, be it robotic or others. And so we are like also trying to implement this actually in system of interacting robots. And so this is interesting also because actually the virtual reality domain, as we may call it, is basically made of videos, and so we are trying also how to look for a better approach to implement our videos in the virtual reality domain to like help scholars to also learn from it. And also one difficulty at times we face here is that we discovered is that you have to like do the simulation, the simulation, the numerical simulation, and then later on produce the video. But we saw that with some softwares, particularly in the gaming sector, you can actually produce or produce a program in such a way that when you launch, you can have interactive parameters. You can launch the program and you change the parameters as it is running to see how it changes. And so maybe that way we'll have a faster approach to recognizing the various patterns that we may exist. And so here I will just present the article which we published in Physical Review E on these findings I just presented above, and we are actually continuing. And later, and you can also find here my LinkedIn page. I'm sure I'm going to like do as Riley mentioned at the beginning, because actually, as mentioned, I'm now waiting I'm waiting my defense, which should probably be soon in July, so maximum July, I hope so. And so thank you for your keen attention.
Okay. Thank you very much, Carmel. So the session is open for questions now. Is there any question? I don't see any. So meanwhile, I can ask maybe myself a clarification. So can you say some few words how I didn't get because it was a bit fast. How do you specifically consider the environment? I saw there is this variable D, but how do you, implement this variable D, this function D? Do you take it from real data? In which way?
Okay. Thank you. It is more of like a simplistic approach. The parameter is basically taken to be, the difference between the interaction of the fluid in which it is based. And because here, as we precise here, that the fluid is, it's more of a liquid. It's not air, because air, it's more broader, and so it's more of a liquid. And so here we just take a difference in the speeds of the element, the interacting speed of the agents, and that of the fluid in which it is placed. It is actually moving. I don't know if.
Okay.
In its simplistic way, that's like friction, you know.
Okay, thank you. So 1 second ago, I saw one raised hand, but now it disappeared. Are there any questions? Is there someone? No, it was an error, I think.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay. So if not, let's thank our speaker, Carmel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much too.
And now we can move to the second speaker. Second speaker is Samantha Fournier. Let me say a few words about this speaker. So she got her master in physics of complex systems. This is the master which is spread among Trieste, SIFS, Torino Politecnico, and Paris, Sorbonne, and Saclay. Nowadays, she's currently a PhD, finishing third year in statistical physics of learning in recurrent neural networks. This is the theme of her PhD studies. This PhD is in Saclay, in Paris, near Paris. Supervisor is Pier Francesco Urban.